we're doing one chapter because I'm so invested in Dexter. Episode 9. And I need to know. So we're doing one. Just for my baby. And then I'm gonna finish the season. Yeah. Anyway, you can have to see here. Alright, chapter 8. Flesh and Blood. Marley and Rowan ran towards the sound of Val's voice. John followed, dragging Alun, who was still struggling but starting to look confused instead of angry. They found Val laying face down in a clump of reeds, her feet on solid ground, her body in the mud, her arms around Bronwyn's waist. And Bronwyn was fighting her. Silently and determinedly, fighting to be free, stretching her fingers out to something that only she could see, while the swamp pulled her down. She suddenly called out and plunged away into the mud, gasped Val. I cannot pull her back, she will not listen to me. Oh, if only Ellis were here. I cannot think without him. Marley pulled a coil of rope from her pack. Hold me, Rowan, she called, and flung herself down to lie beside Val. Rowan held Marley's ankles and watched her stretch across the reeds, reaching for Bronwyn. Marley was tall, but not as tall as Val. As she crawled further out into the mud, Rowan was pulled forward, until he too was lying on his belly across the pathway. His muscles strained as Marley pushed her hands under Val's and looped the rope around Bronwyn's belt. Val too groaned. She had been bearing Bronwyn's weight for too long. She would not be able to hold on much longer. Back, Rowan, try to pull me back, now, shouted Marley. Can you do it? Rowan heaved with all his might, but Marley was heavy, and her ankles were slippery with mud. To his horror, he felt his hands beginning to lose their grip. John, he shrieked in desperation. Help, Marley, I can't. Marley, there was a scuffle behind him, and two slim, strong hands had come down on top of his own, and Alun's voice was calling, I have you, Marley, as he heaved her to safety. With the rope that was Bronwyn's lifeline clutched in her hand, it took all three of them to hold Bronwyn back, while Val lay exhausted on the ground, and Rowan stood helplessly by. The mud was holding fast to its victim, and Bronwyn herself was fighting them. Even when they had her safe at their feet, she was moaning and crying, trying to crawl back into the ooze that had nearly swallowed her forever. Minna, she was weeping. Minna, Minna. It was Minna, Rowan whispered to Strong John. He had heard the name before, but he could not think where. Who did Bronwyn see? John was shaking his head sadly, looking down at the crying woman. I had forgotten little Minna, he said. I had forgotten all about her, until Bronwyn became so angry with you for thinking of the bookshelf. And I think, except in a secret part of her mind, Bronwyn had almost forgotten her too. But this place... When we were all children, Rowan, said Alun, and I still new to Rin, Bronwyn had a friend, one friend, Minna, the keeper of the bookshelf in those days. A little girl as quiet and gentle and fearful as Bronwyn was loud and bullying and fearless. They were never apart. For Minna, there were only Bronwyn and the bookshelf. For Bronwyn, there were only Minna. I remember Minna, said Marley softly, and so would your mother, Rowan. We all went out looking for her, even the children, the night she disappeared. Bronwyn groaned and looked up at Val, who was bending over her anxiously. Minna is here, Val, she croaked. I saw her, I heard her voice, I felt her hand on my face, but Val, her strong face crumbled, and tears fell from her eyes. Val, she is still a little girl, she has never grown up. She has been wandering here all these years, all alone. Why did you not let me go to her? Strong John knelt down beside her. Minna died, Bronwyn, he said gently. They found her bones at last, and the bones of the calf she was trying to save in the old mine shaft. You remember? Rowan stared. Minna had been quiet and shy like him. Minna had died seeking a lost bookshare. Was that why? You do not know that was Minna with the calf, Rondon moaned. We do not know for sure. I have always wondered. John stroked her forehead. His face was full of pity. Minna is dead, Rondon. Minna is safe and resting in the graveyard. The spirits of the swamp played a terrible trick on you to make you leave the firm ground, as they did with Rowan and his bookshare, and tried to do with Elun and his mother. I do not believe in such things. Rondon looked around her with terrified eyes. And yet you must speak truly, for Minna cannot be 10 years old still. But I saw her, I felt her, I heard her. She gripped Strong John's hands. John, do not let them touch me again. Do not let me hear them. I could not bear it. She struggled to her feet. The mist billowed around her and she started like a frightened animal. Come along, Rondon, said Strong John, still in that gentle voice. Come along. He began to lead her on. No, Rondon dug in her toes, her eyes black with fear. No, I cannot. Rondon, you must come. No, she tore away from him, panting then. Turned and ran to run away back the way they had come. Her thumbs over her ears, her hands blinking. What kind of word is that? Her hands blinkering her eyes. Rondon, shrieked Val. Come back. But Rondon did not hesitate. Soon she was out of sight. Now we are 5, thought Rowan. The spiders, Val groaned. She would not be able to go through the forest. She has the branches. Why can't I talk? What the fuck? She has the branches she cut to make torches, Elun said. Once she is out of here, she will stop and bind them, for the fear will die in her and she will regain her senses. From this side, she can burn the silken door to nothing and leap through in safety. She is strong. She will be safe. She will return to the village, like Ellis. Val began to shiver. She looked shrunken and exhausted. Ellis has not returned to Rin, she whispered. He is waiting for me at the edge of the forest. I feel it. I know it. I have known it all along. Never have we been apart so long. Never in our lives since we were in the cradle. I have tried so hard not to think of it, but... Let us go, said Strong John heavily. We will tie ourselves together. None of us can be trusted not to stray. Bind with ropes your flesh and blood. But tears were rolling down Val's plain, muddy face. I cannot go further, she said. I knew it when I called to Ellis as Rondon struggled in my arms. I am sorry, so sorry, but I cannot go on with you. She buried her face in her hands. You will not understand. You will think ill of me. I do not blame you, but I cannot go on alone. Half of me is missing. Ellis is waiting. He needs me, and I must go to him. She turned away. I have torches to make also, she said. I will move fast and catch up with Rondon. We will go together. Rowan, John, Elun, and Marley watched silently as she trudged away, shoulders bowed. She did not look back. It is true, said Marley at last. It was as if half of Val departed when Ellis did. She struggled bravely, but in the end she could not carry on without him. It is strange. They both seemed so strong, as though nothing could touch them. 4, thought Rowan. There are only 4 of us now. So soon. The mountain is doing its work well, said Strong John, echoing Rowan's thoughts. And there is yet far to go. Elun smiled wearily. All the better then, that those who are friends continue together. Come, let us go. And Elun, sing, added Marley. For once I wish to hear nothing else. They looped Marley's rope around their waists and bound themselves together in a line. John, Rowan, Elun, and Marley. They trudged on, looking neither left nor right, keeping their eyes to the ground, their ears filled with the loon singing. His voice was sweet, but it sounded small and sad in the mist, and they took little joy in it. It was fortunate that you regained your senses, Loon the baker, in time to prevent me from sinking in the mud and taking poor Rowan with me, remarked Marley lightly after a time. I heard Rowan's voice calling your name, said Loon, shaking his head, and it was as though I was waking from a dream. There was a shocked yell from Strong John at the head of the line. He staggered backwards, pulling one wet and muddy leg from the treacherous ground into which it had plunged. The northwest path has failed, he called. I cannot tell how deep the bog is. We will have to find another way. He felt cautiously around him, but wherever he turned, the mud sank beneath his feet. What are we to do? Cried Rowan. The map's warning said, and let your guide be made of wood. Marley began hesitantly. We believe this to mean that the guide should be a person who would not feel too deeply about others, she thought for a minute. But perhaps the words have a different meaning altogether. Perhaps they mean exactly what they say, and were intended to help us at just this moment. And so it was that the map's instructions were finally understood and carried out. They went back and cut the straightest branch they could find from one of the trees. They measured it against Rowan, the smallest of the party, and marked it at his shoulder height. And this branch, this wood, became their guide. John would plunge the branch into the mud ahead of them, where it came to rest on firm ground, and the mud reached a point below the mark, so they would step forward. Where it sank so deep that the mud rose above the mark, he would try again and again until a safe stepping place was found. One step at a time, they struggled forward, wading often up to their chests in thick, sticky mud. Progress was painfully slow, and all the time the yellow-white mist floated about them, and sometimes shapes flitted just within their sight, and voices whispered. But they looked only forward, and closed their eyes to the moans and cries that tempted them, holding fast to the rope that joined them one to the other. Finally, there came a time when on every side the wood sank so low that the mark was covered. Then Loon and Marley shouldered John's load, and John took Rowan upon his back. And again they pushed forward, feeling their way, veering always to the northwest, till at last the mud began to firm beneath their feet, and the ground began to rise, and they knew that the dreadful journey was nearly at an end. Staggering and exhausted, they climbed out of the swamp and mist, past the twisted, dark-leaved trees, onto land where grass grew again. Up and up they crawled, to where the air smelled sweet and the sun shone. And there they fell to the ground at last and slept. Interesting. Some of them are pussies, man. Why are they all running away? I feel like they could just stick at it, you know? Anyway,